Good morning. My name is Hugo Peñafiel. I'm a student from UTPL from the master's degree program in English. Here's my idea. I can show it all, but yeah, you know what happens when I do it. So today I'm going to share a brief presentation regarding the uses of scaffolding, the uses of scaffolding in Clio. So now let me get this straight. All right. So the process of scaffolding basically entails to Yeah, basically entails to present a student little steps in order for them to make little progresses. What does this mean? This means that we are going to prepare our classes in order to appeal our students and make the necessary changes later to make our activities a little bit harder. What scaffolding basically means is to push our students' knowledge into the next level. So, what is the importance of scaffolding in EFL? Well, scaffolding in EFL refers to the level our students are going to reach during their language journey. So, for example, they will start with a basic level, an A1. Then, after reaching a certain level of knowledge in vocabulary, grammar, then an A2, B1, C1, and maybe a C2. So it looks like and it works like steps. Now, after that, after having explained what scaffolding means, we need to introduce a little bit of CLIL. Why? Because that's what this presentation is going to be about. So CLIL, content language instruction, basically means to instruct our students using content. So, for example, I'm going to teach them a vocabulary about animals using subjects such as biology, for example. Now, let's go back to scaffolding. So, the benefits of scaffolding is that it enhances the understanding and retention of new language concepts. As I mentioned, vocabulary of birds, vocabulary about countries, and this relates to both the subject, which is going to be, for example, geography, with the content, which is vocabulary about countries. Builds confidence in language learners. Scaffolding basically means to present activities to our students that are doable, that are, let's say, accessible for them to work in. Support diverse learning language. So since we are supporting our students to reach another levels, we should be aware that they have those different levels. So teachers must be aware that they might need to change a little bit the dynamic of the class for certain students. And finally, it encourages independent learning. When students are motivated, they will look for further information at home, or maybe even in the school when asking the teacher. Then we got key scaffolding techniques. We got here modeling, which is to present an example of what we want our students to do. For example, an example of this could be singing songs. This works really well with elementary school learners. Using visual aids, this works fine for vocabulary learning. For example, if I am teaching about the different types of birds, I'm going to show them different pictures with those birds, providing sentence and starters and language frames. This works better for high school students because they might start working on essays, reports, etc. Rather, release of responsibility, this goes for the teacher because we want our students to be acting more in our classes. And finally, it provides feedback. Now, here's our first example of using scaffolding, mixing it with content language instruction. So first, we got a class whose objective is vocabulary building. Now, our context is that we are going to teach science vocabulary in an English lesson. So, for example, I am going to teach my students about the chemical elements, the chemical table. So I will start using visual aids, like, for example, okay, so this is gold, and this is what it looks like. You know gold, and my student will say, yes, we know this is oro in Spanish, and so we'll try to introduce new vocabulary using images and real objects. So, for example, I will say, okay, what are your tables made of? They will say, they are made of metal. What is metal in English? This is steel, all right? Repeat after me, steel. Then we will provide a word bank with pictures and definitions. So, for example, if I am teaching the elemental chemical elements, I will try to show them. I will display them. Okay, oxygen is what the atmosphere is made of, and so on. Then we will engage our students in labeling activities. So, for example, I will present them this activity. Okay, match the chemical element with its corresponding image. So, for example, I will say gold, and I will show them a picture of a steel nugget, a gold nugget, and some oxygen. So we'll say, gold, all of that. Yeah, they relate that. And then we will use the new vocabulary in sentences and context. So, for example, they will say, my table is made of steel. That's how they will start using the new vocabulary. Now, we got another example, reading comprehension. What is our objective? We want our students to read history text in an English context. So, for example, I will say, okay, we are going to read about Simón Bolívar stories, El Libertador de América. How do you say libertad in English? We will start catching the attention of our students. So now, as our strategy, it will be guiding reading with question prompts. Okay, so here in this first paragraph, it says that Simón Bolívar freed the multiple countries around Latin America. Do you want to know what free is? They will say no. Then I will start teaching the key vocabulary and concepts of our reading exercise. Okay, I will say, okay, kids, pay attention. This is the list of vocabulary. Freedom, it means liberty to go wherever you want. Then we'll start maybe mentioning the different ranks in the military section. And then I will start saying a little bit about the strategies. Maybe I will start talking about political terms. So the thing is that I want to provide a structure to outline the text. Then after, before, during, and after the reading, I will provide questions. So I will make my students imagine. So how do you feel Simon Bolivar cope with the responsibility of having to liberate, for example, Colombia? Now, then we will encourage students to summarize each section. So it's going to be a small text. So we are going to present, for example, this activity is meant for 7th graders, 8th graders. So the text should be, the paragraph should be short. So in order to make our students feel comfortable summarizing what happened. And finally, we got the example, writing practice. This is more for like those students who are transitioning between the A2, B1, or maybe B1 to B2. So we are going to write a report in a geography lesson. We are going to use sentence starters and writing frames. For example, here we are going to start using a report structure. So what is a report? In a report, you are going to inform the reader about the different characteristics of an event or an interesting topic. So now, I'm going to need to explain them how to provide subtitles, then sentence starters like, first of all, and besides, therefore, furthermore, connect the paragraphs with using this type of sentence starters in order to make them write a more cohesive and coherent text. Now, here says that we should model writing a section of the report. All right, so here's a strategy that appeared before. I'm going to start modeling my report by saying, okay, kids, I'm going to write this section for you. I'm going to start with these subtitles. Okay, I will say the geography of Ecuador. So in the first place, Ecuador is a country that belongs to the Circle of Fire and blah, 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 and so on. So by modeling, we are providing our students the opportunity of having a more detailed manner of writing what we want them to write. So that will be my 3 examples. Thank you very much.